In a peaceful valley surrounded by hills and meadows, lived a gentle giant named Boris. Though he was enormous, with hands big enough to lift entire trees, Boris had a heart just as large. He was kind and thoughtful, but because of his size, the villagers in the nearby town were afraid of him. They feared that Boris's strength might one day cause trouble, even though he had never harmed anyone. Boris lived alone in a cave on the hillside, often watching the village from afar. He longed to help the villagers, but their fear kept them away. Despite his gentle nature, they couldn't see past his size. Boris spent his days quietly, wishing he could be part of the community. One day, a terrible storm rolled into the valley. Dark clouds filled the sky, and the wind howled through the trees. Heavy rain began to pour, flooding the village below. As the storm grew stronger, landslides blocked the roads, trapping the villagers in their homes. The situation quickly became dangerous, and the villagers panicked, unsure of how they would escape. Boris saw the chaos from his cave and knew he had to help. Without hesitation, he rushed down the hill, his giant feet splashing through the floodwaters. The ground shook beneath him, but this time, the villagers didn't run. They were too frightened by the storm to notice Boris coming to their aid. Using his incredible strength, Boris began clearing the landslides, lifting huge boulders and fallen trees out of the way. He worked tirelessly, creating safe paths for the villagers to escape. He carefully carried the elderly and children to higher ground, making sure everyone was safe from the rising floodwaters. By the time the storm passed, Boris had saved the entire village. No one had been harmed thanks to his efforts. The villagers, who had once feared him, now saw Boris in a new light. They realized that the giant they had avoided was actually their protector. The next morning, as the sun peeked through the clouds, the villagers gathered to thank Boris. They welcomed him into their community with open arms, offering him food and a place to rest after his hard work. For the first time, Boris felt truly accepted. From that day on, Boris became the official protector of the village. Whenever a storm approached or danger threatened, Boris was always there to help. The villagers no longer saw him as a giant to be feared, but as a gentle friend who watched over them. Boris found joy in helping others. He built strong walls around the village to protect it from future storms. And whenever heavy loads needed lifting, the villagers knew they could count on him. The children, who once hid from him, now played at his feet, laughing and climbing onto his broad shoulders as he walked through the village. The villagers had learned a valuable lesson, that true kindness and bravery can come from the most unexpected places. Boris's size, once a source of fear, became a symbol of his strength and generosity. And as for Boris, he was no longer the lonely giant watching from a distance. He was now a beloved member of the village, living happily among the people he had always wanted to help. Through his kindness, Boris had found not only a home, but also a family.